All right, let's jump right into this. Today we've got a really cool, kind of profound little story that comes to us from ancient India. It's got everything: a talking snake, a super powerful sage, and one single mistake that ends up costing someone almost everything. It's all about virtue, what it means to forgive, and, the real weight of our actions.
But first, let me just ask you this. Have you ever played a prank that maybe went a little too far? Now, imagine if the fallout wasn't just a bit of embarrassment, but a curse that literally changed who you were for years and years. Just kind of hang on to that thought as we get into this story.
So our story kicks off with a young man named Ruru. He's out walking in the forest, minding his own business, when he stumbles across this snake, a Dundubha, which is a non-venomous type. But just as Ruru is about to, do away with it, something absolutely bizarre happens. The snake starts to talk.
And it doesn't just talk. It speaks directly to Ruru. It knows his name. And it tells him that he, Ruru, is the one and only person who can finally end its long, miserable, powerless life. So right away, you know this isn't just some talking snake. This is someone who's trapped, waiting for this very moment, for this very person to show up.
So you have to be wondering, how did this even happen? Well, the snake starts to tell its story. A story from a long, long time ago, back when it wasn't a snake at all, but a man. And this man had a friend, a guy named Khagama, who was a sage with immense spiritual power. But, and this is the important part, a really, really short temper.
You can just picture the moment it all goes sideways, right? A single, harmless joke just spiraling into a total disaster. It started out as just a little prank during a sacred fire ceremony. His friend wove a little snake out of grass just to try and get a jump scare. But wow, did it land wrong. Khagama was so startled he actually fainted. And when he woke up, that shock had just boiled over into this pure white-hot rage.
And in that moment of absolute fury, the sage unleashes all of his spiritual power, not with wisdom, but with pure anger. And the punishment he comes up with is it's severe, it's ironic, and it completely shatters his friend's life. And this just nails the punishment, doesn't it? It's so poetic, but so cruel. He basically says, "You used a fake grass snake to scare me? Fine. Now you'll be a real snake, but you'll be a harmless one, just as powerless as the grass you used." He was cursed to live in constant fear, totally unable to even defend himself. Well, you can imagine. The cursed man is just floored. He's begging his friend for forgiveness, trying to explain it was just a joke, he was just trying to make him laugh. And seeing his friend so desperate, the sage's anger finally starts to cool down a bit, and he feels a little pity. He explains that he can't take the curse back. The words were already out there, but he could offer one single, very specific way out.
And this was the one little glimmer of hope the sage gave him. The curse wasn't forever, but its end was tied to a prophecy. He'd only be free when a man named Ruru, who was known to be the pure-hearted son of a man named Pramati, finally appeared before him. And that, of course, brings us right back to this exact moment in the forest.
The second the story is finished, the prophecy is fulfilled. The Dundubha snake just starts to shimmer and change, right there in front of Ruru. It sheds its scales, its form shifts, and it stands once again as he was before the curse, a radiant, wise man, a Brahmana.
And now that he's human again, what's the very first thing this Brahmana does? He offers Ruru a piece of wisdom, a lesson that he learned the hard way through all those years of helpless suffering. He wants to make sure Ruru doesn't go off and make a totally different kind of mistake.
So, the rescued sage, he breaks down this fundamental idea that in life there are different duties, different paths, what you'd call dharmas. He looks at Ruru and tells him what his path is. See, the path of a Brahmana, he says, is all about being gentle, nonviolent. It's a life of study, of forgiveness, and that is the total opposite of a kshatriya, the warrior king, whose job it is to be stern, to rule, to wield authority. The warning is pretty clear. Know who you are, and don't get your path mixed up with someone else's.
And all of this leads to the biggest takeaway, the ultimate lesson, forged in all those years of being a helpless snake. The Brahmana looks at Ruru, the guy who was literally about to kill him just a few minutes ago, and shares the single most important truth he learned. For anyone, no matter what their path is, sparing a life is the highest virtue there is. Period.
But the sage isn't quite done. As one last parting gift, he gives Ruru this little hook into a much, much bigger, more epic story. a story that really puts Ruru's own little encounter with one cursed snake into a huge, grand perspective.
He tells Ruru about this time when the entire serpent race was almost completely wiped out during this massive fire sacrifice, the Sarpa Yegna, that was being held by a King Janamejaya, and how it took another incredible Brahmana, a man named Astika, to step in at the last second and save them from being totally annihilated.
And that just leaves us with this incredible question to think about, right? The anger of one man was enough to curse another man into the form of a snake. But what kind of anger, what kind of epic event could possibly fuel a sacrifice so huge, so powerful, that it threatened to burn an entire species out of existence? Well, like the sage says, that's a story for another time.